Entire time. Goodness me. I'm a professional streamer, y'all. I am so professional. More like professionally unprofessional. But yes. If you need captions, they are currently above my head. But as I had mentioned, keep the active line towards you. Right needle goes through the front. Wrap around the right needle. Make sure you don't catch your left needle. Pull and transfer. So I'm gonna very quickly do this row and add another row. Okay. Oh, oops. Okay, so if on the outside chance this happens to you, do not panic. Just very carefully grab your stitches and guide the needle back through. Like so. It's been a while since I've used straights. I mostly use circular or cable needles. They're the same thing, but different names. But yeah, let me park that. Hi Panther, how are you doing? Hope everything's going well, and please feel free to give yourself a shout out. Panther is the newest member of the Sword Squad, and I'm very glad that they are. Hi baby, what's the matter? Oh, you hear the weed whacker? Is that what that is? You don't like the noise? I know, you don't like the noise. Alright, go lie down. Wasn't sure if the lawn guy was coming today. But anyways, let's just... Okay. So as you can see, with Garter, you have like the little bumps. Stockinette, you have one smooth side and one rough side. But if you'll notice, when you just go it out, it's just more along the lines of seeing this type of definition right here a little closer than you would for Stockinette. And the properties of Stockinette are that you can make one side look very nice, the other side just for the inside, or you can flip it around and do a what's called a reverse stockinette, where the wrong side is on the outside and the right side is on the in. There are a lot of options, and since I have 10 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to show you what stockinette will look like. So we're going to switch over. I'm going to switch over to knit stitch, and you're going to go, instead of like purl, where you're going through the front, through knit, you're going to go through behind. And again, for knit, you're going to go clockwise. Like so. So I'm gonna knit a little faster just to finish up this row and show you what stockinette will look like. I'm going to do a few rows, and stockinette is basically 1 row purl, one row knit, 1 row purl. It takes practice, but once you get the hang of it, it's, again, very easy to go with. And again, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to put them in chat. To 1 more row of knit to complete this. Okay. And the beauty of this yarn, it's Malabrigo, and it's a very beautiful yarn in a tonal color. Oop. So as you can see, with Garter, you have this. With Stockinette, you have one side very smooth and one side that looks like the Garter. And with Stockinette, it wants to roll in on itself. So to prevent that from happening, I'm going to do two to 3 stitches of knit. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, I did an extra stitch. Oops. So from here, I did 3 stitches of knit. So what you're going to do now is, if you want to go back into Stockinette, you have the middle of your needle right here. You're going to take the active line. You're going to bring it in between the needles, like so. Again, I will show the motion. So grab the active line. You're going to notice that it's away from you. You're going to bring it in between, like so. So say you're at 12 o'clock, bring it to 6, like so. One more time, I'm going to show it down here. Bring it in, like so. Like that. And from there, you can do a purl stitch. Again, same motion. From the front, wrap around, counterclockwise, and transfer. Now that we're near the last 3 stitches, what you're going to do is the same motion for turning this into a purl stitch. You're going to go clockwise this time, in between the needles, like that. just like that. Now that you have it ready to do a knit stitch, continue to knit as normal. So from there, we're going to do the same thing. But because we are knitting back to the tail end, you're just going to knit. So I'm going to just do this all in knit stitch really quickly. So a little interesting thing to note. When you're doing something like this, where you're doing garter stitch on the ends, but stockinette in the middle, what the garter does is prevents it from curling in. The only other way for your garment that you are knitting to be preventing it from curling in is blocking. That will be part 4. That'll be in a couple weeks. We're not going to touch on that, but basically blocking is just shaping your garment however you need to. But again, we're not going to do that, at least not yet. And technically it is top of the hour and somebody needs to go potty, so uh-oh, there we go. So around here, I highly encourage folks to take care of themselves however they see fit. Whether it is to get up, walk around, have some drink, have some food, take your meds, giving your furry, scaly, or feathered friends some scritches and love, however you see fit. Be sure to take care of yourselves, and I'll be right back. Hello everyone, welcome back. So, getting back into this, and as a quick review, garter stitch can entail knit or purl stitch. Knit and purl are only different just by how you enter the loop that you are working on. And depending on how you want to manipulate the yarn, you can come up with many different pattern ideas and designs. So to show, we have down here is garter, as well as an unintentional stockinette, actual stockinette, and then 3 stitches on each end in garter. So I'm going to do 2 more rows in the same pattern, just to show you what this will look like. And again, when you're going from one stitch to another, go in between the needles and wrap around the right needle. Again, in between these 2 stitches, make sure the right hand needle is the one you rest the active tail on. From there, do purl, and you're going to wrap around the right needle counterclockwise. For knit stitch, that'll be clockwise. Alright, so we are at the last 3 stitches. Again, go in between and out. Once again, in between and out. And from a different angle, in between and out. And then knit to the end. So with the right side facing you, you're going to do knit all the way across. And the fun part with these two very basic stitches are that you can actually make a lot of things with just knit or purl. So what I'm doing right now is just making a little border. So the main focus is in the middle, like right there. So, from there, I'm just going to do a regular garter stitch in all knit. So as a recap, go from behind, wrap around the right needle clockwise. Wait. Yeah, I had to think about that for a second. So I'm going to just finish this up really quickly. Okay. I'm going to do 2 more in garter stitch. And one of the important things to know about knitting or any kind of craft that you work with your hands, remember to take a break and remember to stretch. Not just your hands, but also your arms, your back. Because if you're sitting and just doing the same repetitive motion, your body will get tired. So bear that in mind. Do a couple more. But yeah, garter stitch is not hard at all. You can do this on very small needles, you can do this on very large needles and make yourself a blanket very quickly. And for average size needles, like a size 8 that I'm working on right now, and let me check the metric for you metric folk. That is a 5mm. You have a lot of options. So one more. Okay. Put that down right there. So as you can see right here, you see the little definition that is framing the stockinette in the middle. Now this can be used for a lot of different things, like washcloths, towels, for sweaters. It's often pretty common to see like little bits right here for stitch work, such as sweaters, socks, anything to make it look interesting and visually dynamic. So I'll give a close-up. There we go. So as you can see right here, this is looking like a little frame. And on top gives it enough contrast for the stitch work to make it look really nice. So there's knit, there's purl. What's next? Well, say for example you want to cast off. We've done the cast on process, but you are ready to take this project off the needles and be finished with it? Well, casting off isn't very difficult at all. So what you're going to do, take your right needle, and we're going to do a knit stitch on the first stitch. Take that off. You're going to knit the next one. And you're going to have 2 needles on your right-handed needle. So what you're going to do is pick up like that and loop it over. So again, you're going to knit, bring it over. So you're going to go from behind with your left-hand needle, go behind, bring over like that, and then drag it off. And you're going to repeat that process all the way to the end, like so. And what this does is make sure that there's like a nice little bind off. And this is just like the very bare bones type. There's many different types of bindings. You can do bind off in a rib. You can do bind off in scallops. And let's go for there. And I'm going to go to the very end. And we now have a loop that you want to make sure that is a little big. That way, when you take it off the needles, you don't have to worry about any stitches coming off. And oh, there we go. So let's give that, yeah, that's good. So take some shears or some scissors, snip that off. There we go. Note to self, sharpen those later. So you have your loop. You're going to take the tail, put it through the loop, like so. Again. Take your tail, put it through the loop, and gently pull till it is nice and tight. And voila! You have a project that is casted off your needles. And the fun part is there are wonderful knitting samplers on Ravelry, online, at local yarn shops that you can test out to get used to stitch work. These are the basics that I want my students to learn first before I teach them increases or decreases, or even cabling, because that's a little bit more advanced. But as you can see, it looks very nice. But we have these 2 tails. What do we do? Again, that is a very good question. So, if you remember my supplies list from last week, I suggested tapestry needles. These are by Dritz. You can get them at any craft store, and I am not sponsored by them. Although, if you are listening, Dritz, I'm very loud about your stuff. I like your stuff. Sponsor me. You won't regret it. So, anyways, we're going to thread this needle. And the good thing about tapestry needles, they are blunt. You don't have to worry about stabbing yourself unless you're really trying for it. Please don't. We're going to take this and just weave in the ends through the loops. How you want to do that is up to you, but how I do it is on the right side, where, like right here. Oops. Like right around there. That is how I use as a little gauge, and then I go in between each stitch, like so. And just go back and forth. It melds in with the stitches. It's a little tedious, but if you're doing something like watching TV, listening to a podcast, or watching a stream, it helps. And if you're doing this while you're outside, if you're able to go outside, it's a lovely way to pass the time. I often bring little projects with me because double-sided benefit of knitting or any kind of needlecraft, especially when you're autistic. You have the benefit of doing a stim very stealthily, and people will not know. It also helps my anxiety exponentially because I really like working with my hands. I don't like to show that I'm fidgeting too much. I know there's a fidget cube somewhere in my house. Okay. And then for added measure, I just put that in. I try to work the tail as much as possible because you want this to stay in. And just to remind folks that I am more than happy to answer questions about knitting. And if you want to get started, like recommendations and whatnot. And if you have questions, please throw them in chat. I'll be happy to answer. Okay, so take that off. And what I do is I just give this a little tug. And I'm looking for my fabric cutting scissors. I think these are Fiskars or Westcott. Okay, never mind. Westcott. These are the good scissors. Okay. Just wiggle it in, just make sure it's happy in its new home. So you're going to notice that right in the corner here, it's a little weird in terms of gauge. You just wiggle that in. And then you're going to do the exact same on this side as well. And what that will look like once I just do that is a nice little square. The fun part is when you're doing garter stitch, it adds, it acts as a little cushion. So if you want to make like a little rest for your cell phone or a tiny little coaster for a shot glass, this works. And this is all improvised right now. Once you get the hang of things, you can move on to learning basic patterns. Excuse me, something went down the wrong pipe. So let me take a quick hydration. But yeah, so while I do this, does anyone have any questions or looking for recommendations? I'm more than happy to answer them. So and because I'm a waste not, want not person, I will turn this into a tiny little thing. Maybe like a patch, I don't know. Maybe something for my niece's dollhouse. Actually, no. I burn candles, so I do need like a tiny little coaster to put my candle, like the pillar candles I use on. Okay. All right. And that is a little swatch. I mentioned earlier that I would talk about blocking, and I will not go into full detail, but I will say that blocking is basically shaping this to how you want it to look and prevent it. Like if you have ends that are rolling in, you pin it down or you steam it into submission. That way the stitches make themselves at home, they get a bit more comfy, and they look exactly how you want it. So for example, this right here, this corner right here, is a little wonky. Okay, no big deal. Can easily fix it during that process. So let me put that back up there. So basically, you can do quite a bit with knit purl, garter, and stockinette. This little thing right here only took me 20 minutes. Laptop kerfuffle notwithstanding. But something that is like this can easily be put underneath a jar of peanuts or a glass of water or whatever you're drinking. I like to use my knitted swatches for putting underneath my cell phone, because my phone is always on vibrate and I don't always want to have to hear it, especially if I'm recording something. But yeah, I'm actually pretty pleased with this. Like, this is a tonal pink with various shades of pink, magenta in it, and it's a wool. So, as I had mentioned last week, there are different types of yarn from different fibers. If you have certain allergies or sensitivities, if you're vegan and you want to learn how to knit, but you don't want to work with animal fibers, there are alternatives out there. So excuse me while I take a sip. But yeah, if anyone has any questions about learning to knit, wanting to learn how to knit, and let me put this down, please feel free to contact. I am available for commissions. I'm opening up 10 slots to make small little items like stuffed plushies, coasters, hats, mitts. All of it is on my Twitter. And actually, hold on. I'm going to find... Haha! Hold on, you're gonna see it in a second. Ta-da! I'm very proud of this. These are actual photos that I have done of my work. So I'm actually going to keep that little slide for promo. I'm very happy with myself. But yeah, this is literally like the bare bones. Next week, I want to get into increases, decreases, such as knit two together or K-tog, K-T-O-G, or slip slip knit, SSK. Yarn over, a YO, make one. There's all these wonderful pieces of terminology, and yeah, I'm extremely excited to share this. So yeah. So I do want to say thank you all for coming, because I am actually going to cut this short just so I can figure out what the hell happened with my laptop. So let me actually see if there is somebody we can raid. And again, I will constantly repeat this. If you are interested in learning how to knit, I am offering lessons. It is $50 for 2 lessons where I teach you the basics and I give you the materials for homework. So you get to learn how to knit and purl, and I offer a free pattern for you to practice with. So let me see who we can raid. You know what? We're going to continue the vibes, and go over to Fawn and Games. Fawn is a non-binary Canadian queer streamer. Pronouns, they, them. They're the purveyor of antlers and butts. They're very good quality people, and they're currently playing Little Witch in the Woods. So we are going to go over and give them a wonderful drum raid. So stick tight. Alright, so that is the raid call for today. Please feel free to put whatever heart emotes you'd like in front of it. I will be back on Saturday for some sewing and maybe some photo editing, depending on if I can afford to go drive. Thank you all so much for coming and for your patience today in regards to the technical issues. I hope to have everything downloaded and fixed up for VODs and to be put up on YouTube sometime this month? Question mark? But yeah, do remember also raid rules. When we go over, listen to the mods and streamer. Be on your best behavior because it is a reflection of the love, music, and appreciation I bring over to Fawn's community. So I'm going to head out and relax and eat some food. I encourage you all to learn a new craft, and if you do, please tag me in the photos of your projects. I would love to see them. So remember, you're doing good. Don't worry about it. Now go make some noise for Fawn. Bye bye!